Infrastructure for rural prosperity. Introduction. The primary hindrance to growth in rural productivity and subsequent economic growth is the lack of basic infrastructure such as electricity, clean water and sanitation. Farmers and casual wage workers account for roughly 90% of the working population in rural areas, and a healthy growth rate of income will certainly help in achieving faster economic growth for the country. India's economic journey from an impoverished nation to one of fastest global economy has inspired many other developing nations, and this rapid economic development has been possible with contribution from every sector of Indian economy. With huge populations still living in rural India, rural development plays an important factor for the growth of the Indian economy, and rural India is yet to play a big role in India's economic voyage, and there is dire need for future investments in the rural areas of India to decrease urbanization and increase employment in small towns and villages. The economic prosperity in rural India can only be achieved if the critical issues of physical connectivity, electronic connectivity and knowledge connectivity are addressed effectively. While urban India has seen big progress in recent years, the small towns of India continue to lag behind. There are many challenges that these places face, including poor road connectivity, primary healthcare system, educational infrastructure and affordable housing. Rise in Indian exports, industrial development and adoption of modern technologies have mostly helped in generating additional employment in urban areas, and rural India has been left out. Connectivity for poverty upliftment. There is a positive relationship between connectivity and development in villages in India. With better roads and highways, there will be a better flow of business, trade and communication that will eventually enhance growth for all the stakeholders and overall for country. A large part of India, especially mountainous areas and remote villages, are cut off from the network of roads, which need to be connected. The government has allocated thousands of crores for building a strong transport network that can link different cities and small towns with regional hubs. However, several projects across the country have seen slow progress over the years, severely impacting the economic progress of the small towns. Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana has connected remote hamlets to the national highways, from where it's a smoother ride ahead. Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana for providing all-weather road connectivity to every rural habitation with a minimum population of 500 in the plains and 250 plus in hill states, tribal districts and desert areas. The fully centrally sponsored scheme covered a total of 178,184 habitations as per the criteria laid down. The fact that 114,540 or 64% of these eligible habitations actually have roads today, with projects being cleared for another 30,501, can be considered a reasonable achievement. Since its inception, PMAY-G has provided connectivity of over 466,044 kilometers, including upgradation of 167,977 kilometers of existing roads, at an aggregate cost of Rs 141,822 crore as on January 2016. Government wants to connect 65,000 rural habitations through the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. The Rural Development Ministry is now tasked with constructing 2.23 lakh km of roads by 2019. The allocation for the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana has been increased from Rs 14,200 crore in 2014-15 to Rs 18,291 crore in 2015-16 and Rs 19,000 crore for the current financial year. Between 2014 and 2016, 18,488 habitations were connected after construction of 72,835 kilometers of rural roads. Due to these roads, now it has been made it possible for producers of perishable produce such as milk, fish and vegetables to sell these to a wider base of consumers in nearby towns. Equally, it has enabled companies to distribute their products through rural retail stores. These stores were earlier unviable both for their owners and the companies wanting to replenish stocks. But with more terrible roads today, you have more efficient supply chains and lower inventory costs. Pradhan Mantri Awaas Yojana, Gramin. The central government took a measure towards ensuring that people can get a house within their financial capability. Launched on June 25, 2015, the primary aim for this is to ensure that 3 crore houses are built across nation's length and breadth in next 7 years. The Rural Housing Scheme will help achieve housing for all by 2022 in rural areas across the country. The government has allocated Rs 15,000 crore to the program for the current fiscal and increased payout per household to more than Rs 1.2 lakh from Rs 75,000 earlier, along with increasing area per home to 25 square meters from 22 square meters. The housing scheme will have linkages with Swachh Bharat Abhiyan or National Cleanliness Mission to ensure toilets in each house, with provision of an additional allocation of Rs 12,000 per household. This will be coupled with 90-day wage provided under the government's flagship Rural Jobs Program under Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, adding another Rs 18,000 to each household. To address the gap in rural housing and in view of government's commitment to provide housing for all by 2022, the scheme of LAY has been restructured into Pradhan Mantri Awaas Yojana, Gramin, PMAY-G, 1st of April, 2016. Pradhan Mantri Awaas Yojana, Gramin, PMAY-G, highlights. Government to construct 1 crore Pakka, permanent, houses for the rural poor in the next 3 years. The scheme is expected to boost job creation in rural areas. The project will be implemented in a span of 3 years from 2016-17 to 2018-19 with a budget of Rs 81,975 crore. Of the total estimated expenditure, Rs 60,000 crore will come from budgetary allocations and the remaining through NABARD. The cost of unit, house, assistance is to be shared between central and state governments in the ratio 60 hours 40 minutes in plain areas and 90 hours 10 minutes for northeastern and hilly states. Beneficiaries of the rural houses would be chosen according to data taken from the socio-economic caste census of 2011. An allowance of Rs 120,000 in plain areas and R'(S.130000 in hilly areas will be provided for construction of homes. The unit size will be enhanced from the existing 20 square meter to up to 25 square meter, including a dedicated area for hygienic cooking. Provision of toilets at Rs 12,000 and 95 days of unskilled wage labor under MG and rigor over and above the unit cost. Funds will be transferred electronically directly to the account of the beneficiaries. The beneficiary would be facilitated to avail loan of up to 70,000 rupees for construction of the house, which is optional. Special projects to be sanctioned to states based on situational exigencies and special needs. The scheme is also expected to generate employment in the rural areas, especially in the construction sector, which is currently the second largest employers in India. Rural electrification. In November 2015, the Union Cabinet approved Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Gram Jyoti Yojana, (GVVY), which dealt purely with electrification, was subsumed under it, and this was launched by Prime Minister for power sector reforms in rural areas with a view to ensuring round-the-clock electricity supply to farmers and rural households. The new power scheme focuses on feeder separation, rural households and agricultural, and strengthening of sub-transmission and distribution infrastructure, including metering at all levels in rural areas. Solar power offers an opportunity to bridge this massive infrastructure gap and improve the social, economic, environment and health indicators of 30% of India's population. As on April 1, 2015, only 18,542 villages remained unelectrified. Prime Minister in his Independence Day speech in 2015 announced that these villages will be electrified within the next 1,000 days. At the present date, just 7,716 villages are unelectrified. Each and every village would soon be deemed electrified by the government well before the deadline. Even World Bank has noted that rural electrification in India has caused changes in consumption and earnings, with increases in the labor supply of both men and women, and promoted girls' schooling by reallocating their time to tasks more conducive to school attendance. Regular and reliable electricity could have a galvanizing effect in reducing poverty in rural India. Digital India connecting rural India with mainstream. The scheme is one of the flagship programs of the Power Ministry and will facilitate 24/7 supply of electricity.